All right. So once again, good evening, everybody. My name is Martin Owakwe, and I'm the managing director at Mundus Consult. Mundus Consult is an educational consulting firm. We call ourselves your study abroad partner. So what it means is that we offer, end-to-end study abroad services. So people who want to, travel to US, UK, Canada, Australia, Germany, for studies, for school purposes, we help you with the entire process, offer mentorship, offer guidance. We work across, the broad spectrum of educational content. So, we are here to help as many persons as possible achieve their dreams, help as many persons as possible achieve their goals. Information is power, and, you're only limited to the kind of knowledge and information you have. Okay. So the reason why, you are where you are today is because you don't have, access to certain kind of information. And that's basically what, we'll be doing with this brand. And that's what we'll be doing on this Telegram platform. This is going to be like the first webinar session we're going to be having, but we intend to make it a monthly session. So after this session, or at the end of this session, I'm going to announce, the dates and the topic for the next session. Okay, so it's going to be consistent. So after today's session, the group is going to be like a place where we can talk about all of the issues that we would have, answer all of your questions, just basically not just learn from me, but learn from each other, right? Okay, so let's go straight to why we're here. First of all, I want to start by introducing Mr. Victor Ihuka. I don't know why you're laughing.
No, the Mister. I never did used to Mister Guy.
Okay. So Mr. Victor is a graduate teaching assistant at the East Carolina University here in the United States of America. A lot of you have seen the design or the poster we made regarding this webinar, and the topic, we are very emphatic about the topic, how I was able to get a fully funded scholarship with a third class. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, oh, how is that possible? And you're here to just find out. You want to know, is this true? How exactly is it possible? And I'm sure you've heard a lot of things. People have told you it's not possible to do this. Oh, you can't go to America. Oh, you can't get visa. You can't do this. So there are lots of hesitations here and there, and but the good thing is that you're hearing directly from the horse's mouth. You're hearing directly from him. He's speaking to you about his experiences, about what he passed through. And so I'm sure you're going to learn a lot about, the entire process by just listening to Victor. Victor is what I've known, over the last 7 or 8 years. And, I can attest to the quality of his thought process. So, Victor, welcome.
Oh, man.
Hi.
Thanks.
How is North Carolina today?
Yeah, Greenville. Cold day small, more. I still never get used to the cold for here, man. But we gotta do what we gotta do, man.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome, guys. So I think I should introduce myself, right?
Yeah, you feel free.
Okay, so honestly, I feel very vulnerable. I mean, coming on screen to talk about what I've had to deal with, But then the goal for me is to inspire somebody, actually. I mean, because that is what it is about at the end of the day. So my name is Victor Ihuka. One Aba boy. I'm from Aba. I see some of my Aba people here too. So yeah, one Aba boy. So I'm a graduate teaching assistant at the Department of Geography, Planning and Environment here at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. So Greenville is in the southeastern part of the United States. I mean, North Carolina as a state. So we are bordered by states like Virginia, New Jersey, DC, Washington, DC, and Maryland is like 4 hours away from here. The US is big as hell, and if you're in Nigeria, you go think say not like the movies. But it's a very awesome experience. So basically, I went to Futo. I think some of my Futo people are here too. I went to Futo, and in 2017, if you know anything about Futo, there was a protest in school, the one with Rochas, and myself and a number of my friends too in Futo, Rochas, OK Collins, I don't forget them, Sekjen then, and all of those guys. We were expelled. That was like one of the most painful periods of my life. But he that is down needs fear no fall. I decided to take the chance. You know, it wasn't the easiest thing, and which is something I talk to folks about. People have the mindset that they want to leave Nigeria. What it does is it puts you in a certain mindset. Your goal is to, by any means necessary. But if you take the step back and, break down the process and find the right information and even change your mindset too, because mindset is key. I know some of the people here too I've spoken with on a personal level. I told you Mundus, and I would always tell them that it's hard work, right? It's a lot of hard work. You need to have that. You need to be in that mindset. Even with what Mundus is trying to accomplish here in inspiring you guys on your journey, it doesn't mean that he would do stuff for you. So I understand some people here have like first class even, right? Some have second class, 2-1. That puts you in a different position
I,
entirely.
I can see some
You
first
want?
class people.
Oh, really? So basically, the number one thing is to understand your own unique situation. I mean, that's like the number one thing.
So
Understanding your own. Okay,
yeah, so
sorry.
I think let's start with your
Okay.
background. Um, you
Okay.
know, you mentioned already that you've accepted to be vulnerable, and I know the reason why for full time. So let's talk about so what led to why did you finish with the third class, and how did finishing with the third class, how did it what was your mindset like, finishing with third class, and being uncertain of what to do with these certificates or with this degree.
Um,
What was it?
bro, like I said, it's some of the worst periods of my life. I mean, Nigeria, you know how Nigeria day, and I'm a first generation college student, like we would say here. That
Mhm.
maybe the first person for my papa house we go university, right? I had to stay home 4 years after jump to even get into Futo. So 4 plus 5 is 9 years, right? So I mean, seeing 9 years of my life go down the drain, really. So what
Yeah.
even happened mainly was that we were expelled and we stayed out of school for I think close to 2 years before the VC then granted us amnesty. So, Futo, your CGPA is divided by 5 years, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
right? By
Mm-hmm.
five, like year one, year two, third year, fourth year. And so we had our own CGPA, at least mine. I think it was divided by like 7.
Wow.
Understand? Say Holano ọkụkọ bụ nshi n'ọnụ ya ewere a na-ekwu na ọkụkọ bụ nshi n'ọnụ ya ewere ọnụ na-atụ ya. Like the situation went from the CGPA I was managing and trying to struggle to deal with, the thing crashed the entire thing.
Oh.
So bro, it wasn't a good place in my life really. And I think that experience played a huge part in, making me like the kind of person I am right now, really, because it was a very huge turning point in my life. And I mean, first class holders, 2-1 holders in Nigeria, you know how bad it is, how difficult it is for them to be able to do anything. I mean, how much more third class, right? So, I mean, it wasn't a good experience. So I hope I
Okay.
answered that.
Yeah, obviously you have. Okay, so let's dive into the process. So I think the first question I'll ask is, do you still have an idea of the number of schools you apply to? What was the application process like? Applying to those schools, and really whether for some of those schools you might not even meet like the minimum requirements. But what was the process like?
So, like I mentioned earlier, the first part, for me and pretty much for everybody else is to figure out your own unique situation. So as all of us, they different here. That is how different our own both strengths, both weaknesses, even like our application package. So being able to on that fundamental level to figure out what is unique about you, makes a huge difference. So for instance, I didn't have third class. I had third class, right? But from when they say make we come back school, come finish up, my grades then, like I had to talk to lecturers, I had to tell them like, see my situation. So I wrote some exams in like lecturer's office. So I smashed that last year. So my grades were bad from say, okay, first year was good, and then there was a dip, and then that last time I finished strong, right? So it was part of my story that see like I think I've shown you my SOP, which is a huge part of this whole thing. But fundamentally, my point is you need to understand your own unique situation. Whether you have a first class or a 2-1 or a 2-2, or you need to really understand your own unique situation. I think that's like the first step. So in terms of in terms of schools,
Yeah.
um I had to specifically school search is one of the most hectic things to do, and it still ties back to the mindset thing. There is no quick fix, there is no shortcut. Like, trust me, it is difficult as hell. So I don't know about other people's experience, but trust me, it is difficult as hell to leave Nigeria on a student visa to the US. I don't know about UK. I don't know about, I mean, you, Mundus, you know better about other parts of the world, but I'm just sharing my own story. It's difficult as hell. So, I mean, in my head, I didn't think it was impossible, really. But I knew I needed to understand my unique, put in the work and understand my own unique thing. So, first of all, most schools will require in their criteria, they would require a 3.0 CGPA minimum requirement. So a lot of schools require that. A lot of schools. In fact, if you have up to 3.0 as your CGPA, you're already in a better position, right?
When you say 3.0, are you saying 3.0 over 4? Or because I know.
Okay, interestingly, yeah, that's right too. So Nigeria, we use the 5.0 CGPA scale, right? But in the US, they use the 4.0 CGPA scale, which is why one of the first steps would be West. So West, I don't know if you're writing it down. So West is like one of the first things you need to do. And I think West is around 200 and something dollars now. I mean,
Mhm.
it is money involving, and it is work involving too. So Wes is like a brand. Can I go ahead, Mundus?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so WES, World Education Services. So WES is a brand that does transcription. So what they do is, for people who want to work or school in the US, the brand transcribes your grades, your certificates, your school results to the US standard, right? So for school, for instance, if you go to wes.org, you make an account, you request for a course by course evaluation. So course by course evaluation is the one like US universities usually make use of. So in this process, for instance, something as important as getting your transcript, I don't think is something anybody else, even Mundus, can do for you. Whatever it takes you to get that, right? So because the transcript is one of the most important things you need. I think it's only um less important to international passports. It's a no-brainer. You need to have an international passport to even be able to do anything. So getting your transcript is something you have to do for yourself. When you get your transcript, you get your school to send it to Wes after you've opened the account and all of that. So what Wes does is Wes takes your transcript that Photo sends them or whatever your school is, and convert those grades to a US 4.0 scale. So my CGPA was 2 point something, but on West, I mean 2 point something over 5. I know
Yeah.
if you even mention them because the thing no go fit flash MTN to MTN, you know. So so but the CGPA was low. But interestingly, after West evaluation, the thing got to I think 2.7 or so. I think either 2.7 or so. So some schools, that is why it's very important for you to really do the West if this is what you are committed to. When you do it, I mean, I had already found schools that require, I had over 20 schools that required a 3.0. But when my West came out, I saw that, man, there was no way around it. And CGPA is one of the many aspects of an application. So there is the CGPA thing, there is your CV or LinkedIn, there is your SOP, there is your external tests, like GRE or TOEFL, all of those things. And then at some point, you could have a meeting with an advisor too. So all of these little systems come together to make like a complete package. So CGPA is just one aspect of it. And I think it's something a lot of people don't realize. CGPA is, I mean, an important part, not the less, but it is just one of the different aspects that make you a prospective, there is a word they use, a motivated, a very motivated student. And interestingly too, I think I need to make these points now. When you get here, you realize how different the United States school system, universities here view international students. These guys, I mean, I don't know if it's something I should say, but I feel like these guys want smart, intelligent, hardworking people to come and study here. I won't lie, but if you are if you're in Nigeria, it will be like say the system is against you because of all the other things you have to deal with, right? But these guys, as long as you show promise, I think we'll get to the point about reaching out to professors, which I think Mundus would very, very much help you out with. These are like the little things that make the very big difference. Because after looking for those schools and going back to get schools that require less than a 3.0, you can search it. It takes effort. You can search US universities that require a 2.0, CGPA requirements. You take the time, you spend the time, and you find those schools. You want to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So in my own case, I had to take the time to, go back and look for those schools that require, a certain lower CGPA, right? Even some schools will even, okay, you said?
So I know there are over, the interesting thing about the US is, there are over 3,500 universities in the US.
I said public universities even.
Yeah. So, one of the problem most people have is, deciding on, which school to go for, or even searching, through, the 3,500 schools in the US. So what was it like? Were you, how did you structure your search? Were you, just use Google,
Very interesting.
the websites of all these schools, one after the other? And, how long did it take you?
Bro.
And if you want to talk about the, there's this, these spreadsheets, that had like,
Yeah. You don't even remind me, bro. Like I don't even forget, bro. Like, I don't want to make this scary. Like, I don't want to make the process scary, but I understand hard work is not a culture in Nigeria. Mundus, you know that, right? We believe so much in miracles, really. Like, we believe so much in God. I mean, somebody prophesied I was going to go to the US. I mean, I wish it was the prophecy that made it happen. So, but what I'm trying to say is you need to zero your mind about hard work. I had to go through, it's on Wikipedia, list of public universities in the United States by states. Like, I had to go through all those long hours of going to the university websites. I had to go on Google's keywords, universities in the US that require, and then a lot of those schools are private universities which are out. And you are not trying to get into Harvard with a third class or something. I mean, so you need to focus on public universities. Really, I think it's a good strategy to have too.
Okay.
Southeastern something university, most of these things are regional universities, so they are established to kind of grow the region, so they have a lot of incentive to admit international students. These are like the little things now, like you have to find out when you get here, you know so focus on those public universities. Southeast, as long as a school can admit international students, they are eligible to issue service, right? So it shouldn't. I mean, I don't hear school tire like public universities. So there are over, like you said, over 3,000. But you need to be very clear on the kind of students you are, and then your own unique situation. So I searched for schools. I even had to get an Excel sheet, a spreadsheet. I think I've shared it with Mundus. It's a very helpful tool. So on one of the columns, you have different columns. You have um, the name of the school and the application fee. You have the login. I had the link, I had a login column so that I could just work on them, track them, color the link. I mean, it was a little sophisticated, really. So you have the application fee, you have the deadline, you have the requirements, because some schools specifically would want you to reach out. You can't even get admitted if you don't have like a professor you're already talking to that you will mention in your SOP, which is another huge part. I mean, regardless of what grade you have, you will be in the best position if you can be able to, get the hold of a professor who would say, okay, I mean, that's what you need at the end of the day, too, really. So it's a numbers game. I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, Americans here ask me all the time, why did you come to East Carolina University? The culture is different here, so they expect some very nice, cool story. And I tell them, like, the honest answer is East Carolina was the only university that offered me funding. And it is what it is. Like, going to school here without funding is, trust me, it's not something you want to deal with. And then it puts you in a better position. So it's not that it is impossible, but it makes your life
I've
a lot
collected my.
easier. Is it?
Please stop, collected.
Okay, yeah. You know. So I think I
So,
did the
so,
Excel thing. Okay.
so at the end of the day, how many schools were you able
10.
to apply to? 10
10,
schools.
my
So
brother. 10 schools.
I'm gonna give you admission.
So I got admitted into 6 of those 10 schools. I think Georgia Southern University in Georgia, University of South Dakota in Vermilion, South Dakota, McNeese State University in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and Western Illinois University. To your school offered me admission, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get any funding. And then East Carolina University, of course. So I
Okay.
had to go with the funding. It wasn't anything about emotions. It is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I wanted to
so
ask
you
me.
mentioned, you mentioned your SOP. So what other
Okay.
documents you have
Um.
for admission? You
So
mentioned what other
SOP is very key. So you need a
SOP is
very
for for those who are just hearing it for the first time.
statement of purpose. Yeah, statement of purpose. Some call it statement of interest. Some call it statement of goals and objectives. So it's an
Mhm.
essay. Some schools have strict word limit guidelines, while some schools, it's usually the standard is usually 2 pages or a page and a half. Some tight writing, like you need to tell your story, basically. That is what it is. But a lot of people think it's about, giving your life history. You need to position yourself. You need to be vulnerable, for lack of a better way to say. I think it's one of the biggest helps Mundus can give you, because it's like the game changer. I mean, it's like the game changer, because that is your one opportunity to explain yourself, to explain this your story, I mean, for instance, my advisor, when she responded to me, she made a point to mention that she liked that I opened up about my grades. And the way she interpreted it was that she said she liked value of personal responsibility and taking responsibility for my bad grades and being willing to walk through it, right? And she feels that it is the values that the department needed. You see how that was framed, right? I mean, that was why she fought so hard that I get funding from the graduate school, you know. So it's your opportunity to tell your story, which is why, as I said, being able to understand your own unique story. And these are the things, like these are like the things, the intangible things that make the big difference that Mundus can help you out with, really. I mean, if you want to not just come to the US, but with some form of funding, these are things you can. I mean, that's my story. That's my own experience, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So SOP, would you mention like other part of the applications, like other
So,
documents?
your transcripts, obviously, like Wes evaluated transcripts. So after Wes evaluates it, Wes will now be sending it to the schools. Schools have Wes codes and stuff. So Wes will do the task of sending it to those schools, same as your TOEFL. So schools have language requirements in the US. It's either a TOEFL or, you said?
Compulsory to write. Compulsory to write a
No,
TOEFL.
no, no. TOEFL is not compulsory. TOEFL, in fact, most universities here, they waive the TOEFL for some African countries and some other countries of the world. But I will advise you to write TOEFL, and nobody else can write TOEFL for you. Surprise! So these are part of the hard work you have to do yourself by, I mean, studying for TOEFL and getting a good grade in your TOEFL. Because if your grades are not so great in school, like I said, remember, grade is just one part of the other different parts, right? So if your grade is not so great, you want to get a good TOEFL. That way you can say, okay, I'm very smart, but not just in school, or for whatever reason you tell them you had bad grades. So TOEFL is a good, and then if you are seeking for some form of funding too, TOEFL, test of English as a foreign language, is like IELTS, but it's more popular with US universities. So it's a test to test your ability to live and work in an English, native English environment. It's for work or for school too. But for the school, the key aspects, I mean, there are four sections, right? Writing, reading, speaking, and listening. Speaking is usually very important for any form of assistantship or scholarship. Some schools have like strict cutoff. It's all over 30, total of 120. So 30 for each section: speaking 30, reading 30, listening 30, writing 30 times 4, right? So some schools would have an overall, say, cutoff of 79. Most schools are 79, but then as you go higher in tier, you get 89. Some schools I applied to, I think University of Colorado Boulder had 100 as cutoff. So some would have strict um section cutoff. So to be able to qualify for some scholarships, for instance, or some assistantships, you need to have like a 25 or a 23 or a 26 over 30 in your speaking. So there are resources on YouTube about smashing TOEFL, but a lot of us feel like, oh, we've been speaking English all our lives and all of those things. So you don't give, I mean, and then there's a lot of pressure in Nigeria. But if this is something you really want to do and you are willing to put in the work, I promise you, getting prepared and doing the hard work will not just even help you get it, but will set you up well for when you get here. You would have unlocked that level of performance of, being dutiful, of, hard work, of doing whatever you need to do, which is how you survive here. Like I said, we don't have a culture of hard work. So you need to do the TOEFL. TOEFL, I've mentioned TOEFL now, I've mentioned the CGPA.
Your
I mean,
transcript on your
so GRE2, SOP2, yeah. GRE2 is another test. I mean, my brother, I won't lie, GRE is not for the faint-hearted. You can actually, there are schools that don't, I mean, it's a huge thing. Some schools have been debating about scrapping GRE, that it's not a good test of intelligence. So some schools waive GRE. I will advise you, you can do without that one, really, because if you are not getting a high score in GRE, I don't think it's useful. Although some schools have like lower requirements too. If you want to, you can still write it, but trust me, it's a difficult exam. I'm not trying to kid you. You need a lot of time and effort to, So GRE, if it's something you want to do, and then you need letters of recommendations, obviously, from
Okay.
your university professors. And I mean, there is always a solution to all of these things. I think Mundus can, when you get right down to it, Mundus can always, mentor you, and which is part of the big things about working with him. So you need those letters of recommendations. You need so some schools too will require a statement of research different from like a statement of purpose. Some schools you will need to provide some form of academic writing, but all those things are optional. You can select for schools that don't require those things. It was a lot of things to do, so it's not even the kind of thing I would advise anybody. But very importantly too, you have to reach out to professors. I mean, professors, like I told you, are always on the lookout for, motivated, smart, intelligent students coming from abroad. It's a big deal here. I mean, having international students come over here, it's a big deal. I mean, even when you get to visa process, I think it's only international students and maybe some form of health stuff that are qualified for expedited, visa interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shemunde. So international students are like a big deal here. So it's very important, even in addition to all these things, to reach out to professors, which is which is a function of knowing your unique situation, like telling your story, like presenting. You are sending someone a random email. It's a numbers game. You should have done the work. You should have checked him out, found out his research. When you are talking to him, hello, professor, whatever, whatever, my name is, you introduce yourself. I have interest, research interests in this. Know what your research interests are. I mean, it doesn't have to be something very big, right? But as long as you position yourself well, you know, I read your, maybe find one paper that he wrote. And I mean, Mundus would definitely, these are like the key things I believe he would be of the greatest help, to
Yeah.
you.
So thank you very much, Victor. But so let me
Okay.
add, some of the things that Victor just mentioned now, like the TOEFL, the GRE. I'm in the US. I'm doing my graduate program. I didn't write the GRE. I didn't.
Mm-hmm,
There are
mm-hmm.
so many people here who are studying here who are on fully funded scholarship without writing TOEFL or GRE. But basically, the point that we are trying to make is that if you're in the kind of situation where you're already deficient in your CGPA, okay, you're trying to maximize your chances as much as possible. You're trying to get boost your profile as much as you can, right? So if what was your GRE score again, please? Don't mind
Omo,
sharing.
my brother, my
Mhm.
GRE scored are like, I think either 296 or so, or three something. I can't remember correctly, bro, but Omo GRE he had. That's
And
how bad it is.
you are 320, right?
340, I think. Oh yeah,
So
170, 170. And
yeah,
then writing, analytical writing.
yeah. So basically, you need to optimize your chances. If your CGPA is low, you want to do the extra. You want to prove to them that, oh, okay, your CGPA was low for due to certain reasons. When I was in school, maybe I lost my parent, or maybe I had issues, maybe mental illness. But
That's a different story too.
exactly. So you need to show that you're a serious student, and that's why we're advising you to if you can register for TOEFL, you can write TOEFL from almost anywhere right now. GRE, there's a GRE at home test, meaning you can stay in your house and write your GRE, and you can write it whenever you want to write it. Okay. So, but you will need to take time. You need to sit down and do the hard work of researching, of reading, of going to YouTube, of watching videos, of downloading
Very
e.
important.
You have
Very
to do.
important.
I can remember, calling Victor by 2 a.m., 3
Omo,
Victor is preparing, he's reading for his GRE, he's reading for, like, if there's any person, the choice of Victor, was very strategic. And because I followed through with the process, most of the questions I'm asking him are, things that, I know very, because I know we were together during the whole process. Okay. From when he started searching for schools, to the point when, he went for his visa interview, like, I followed through the entire process. And, I saw someone who was dedicated. At some point, Victor told me that, it is like he's putting everything he has, into making sure that this thing works. Like he's optimizing his chances. He's doing every single thing to make this thing work. And I saw, the hard work, the dedication, writing from TOEFL to GRE to, writing one of the best statement of purposes I've ever seen. So this guy was well prepared for this thing. He didn't just wake up and say, oh, I want to study abroad. How do I study abroad? How much is it going to cost me to go abroad? Because most times I get messages from people and they say, oh, I just want to chapa. Like, what's the plan after that? What exactly do you want to do? You just want to chapa. So once you come here, what happens? Okay. So I'm not going to do, nobody's going to do everything for you. You have to do the basic things that you need to do, for yourself to optimize your chances, especially if you want to get a fully funded scholarship. I mentioned to you there are over 3,500 schools in the US, and most of those schools are willing to give you admissions, right? There are grade A schools, grade B schools, there are grade C schools. There are schools in the US that once you apply, you're 100% certain of getting admission, right? Okay.
Right.
So
True.
it depends the kind of school you want to get to, and then your chances of getting a fully funded scholarship will now determine, the kind of efforts that you put into the application. So, Spiritual, let's go ahead with the question. So, for the school that finally gave you a graduate assistantship, after the application process, applying to the school, was there like any other thing you did, any other extra thing? Did you play any kind of politics? Did you reach out to anybody?
I mean, the politics would be, like I said, the SOP. Trust me, like schools, and then you need to really get into the school websites, and see a lot of information. The websites here are not like Nigerian websites. Like all the information you need is always available. All the info. In fact, if there is an information that you've searched for and you can't see, you can email the program director. I mean, a lot can change if you are proactive. I think which is the point Mundus is trying to make. Being proactive, like being willing to do the work, really. It's a different vibe if you've done something and you are asking a question like someone who has actually put effort and needs help for real, as opposed to someone who is expecting some miracle and you just want to japa. So in my own case, what I did was to, and which is one other sure ways, most schools will always give you some form of assistantship, some form of tuition, waiver, tuition scholarship. I think my younger sister, Mundus, if you remember, Central Washington University got even like a housing scholarship, fully funded, like with meal plan and all of that. There is money here. Schools are looking for who to support, but then they need to see that you have value. It's about value at the end of the day, because they are looking for people who can contribute to their ecosystem. It's what it is about fundamentally. So what I did was I reached out to the person who eventually became my research advisor. I even read some of her papers, and found something there I thought about to be interesting. People like attention, showing her that I have done the work to read her papers, asking some things. I mean, when I even interviewed with her, she was trying to tell me that she didn't do a lot of work, even in the papers, that some other guys on the team did more of the work. But it was good, for her to know that I have already done all the hard work. And I mean, that was what it is about. And on getting here, you realize that there is even far bigger opportunities for funding than what you are even thinking of back home. So that was, pretty much it, reaching out. Some people didn't respond to my emails. Some people did, but it didn't work out for any reason. So it's a numbers game. I might
Okay.
probably have sent over
So
100
do you,
emails.
so do you want to talk to us about the interview? Was there any interview, after the application?
Yes. I interviewed with a number of, very important. I interviewed with a number of professors. So, like I said, it's about value. You've shown yourself as this very promising, student in your application package. They need to see you, they need to talk to you. You need to defend, be able to talk about some of these things you've been able to talk about in your application, which is a very good opportunity for you to sell yourself further. You need to connect, you need to be real. I mean, I think it's something Mundus can also help you out in terms of, I think you offer, you know interview guides and mentorship too. I mean, a lot of these things are intangible. for lack of a better way to put it, a lot of the things that make the biggest difference are not hard skills, they are soft skills, you know, and then with the hard work too. So it's about working hard and smart. So I think I don't know if that answers your question, Mundus.
Oh, yes, yes. So I was going to ask you. So, what was that one thing that you think that made the difference? I know you mentioned, your SOP, but do you still stand by that, or is there another part of
Uh,
it that you think made the most impact?
Bro, I mean, I like to be abstract. I think my mindset made the most difference, really, because now that mindset make me look at myself. Like I said earlier, he that is down need fear no fall. Even when I got to visa, like I didn't have an option. Like yeah, it was either yes or yes. That was my mindset. So I was very honest with myself. I told my story honestly, but then I told it from the point of, okay, so this is who I am, but this is what I can become. This is who I think I can become with the hard work. So when I got the response, even in the interview, one of the things she pointed out was that she's always willing to, you know, accept motivated, highly motivated students. So it wasn't about my grades at the end of the day. It became about my potential, right? Which was a function of how I communicated my story, which at the end of the day, I keep talking about SOP being one of the major things, with the other aspects. Because with SOP, it's your one chance for these people to see you. And the
Mhm.
way it works, if at my school here, I figured out here that when you apply, you're applying to the graduate school, and then the graduate school makes a decision. You've crossed certain thresholds and now push your application package to the department. So when you talk to your advisor, for instance, and reach out to them after application, they would eventually take your application to them. So it helps that you are in their mind. It helps that you have made the connection. I don't know if I'm being repetitive, but a lot of it is about connection. What you
Mhm.
just need is to make, and it's just one. You just need one connection, really. That's why it's a numbers game. So a lot of it is hard work and smart work, really.
Okay,
So I think that would be it. Some
okay.
people have been wanting to talk to.
So talking about the statement of purpose, with the advent of platforms like GPT,
GPT, yeah, yeah.
AI tools, a lot of persons might they might think that, oh, okay, SOP, something I can just put down together. I can even go to chat GPT and be able to give me a statement of purpose. But you need to understand that the average program, like in a school in the US, if I'm to guess, should be receiving about maybe 200 applications every year. And those 200 applications come with about 200 statements of
So
purpose. So meaning that they've read thousands of statements of purpose. They've seen SOPs of different kinds, right? And most of these schools, especially like the big schools, they have they have a database where, they put all of these statements of purposes into. And so once you submit your statement of purpose, one of the first things they do is to run it through a software called Turnitin. So Turnitin is like a plagiarism checker. So that's the first thing they do. So if you go and copy someone's SOP or use an SOP that has been submitted before and you submit it to a particular school and they run it through their software and they find out that it has been plagiarized, that's the worst thing that happens to application.
it's a serious issue. Plagiarism and academic integrity is a serious issue.
The application would be, removed. Okay, so it's something you need to take your time and spend time looking at a situation, looking at the program you want to apply to, and then craft a convincing statement of purpose that tells your story, your unique story. Okay, so no two SOPs should be the same, right? Because you
No
have
two are the same.
different experiences, what you want to do after this program, what you're doing currently, what you've done in the past. You need to calm down and you know take your time. And if you're not able to do it, that's part of one of the services that we offer. We're going to work with you, to make sure that whatever you present to the school is perfect. Okay, so you mentioned because I want to allow people to to
Yeah,
be able to
yeah, and then my time
individual.
too.
Yeah, so as a bonus question, do you want to share with us, what the visa process was like? Because I know getting the admission is one thing, so we have to
Yeah,
get
yeah, yes, yes, yes,
like
yes. So,
So do you want to share with us, maybe in like 2-3 minutes, what the process was like getting getting your visa approved and all?
So I would say in my own case too, it still boils down to the mindset really, because if you've done all this hard work and you've spoken to professors and you've gotten admission and you've gotten some funding, you go there with a different mindset than someone who maybe paid someone and just had something or just gotten some admission, because all the things you've done, even in terms of figuring out your SOP, checking out your research interests, just clarifying your thoughts. It's not a fluke to get here, really. It's not a fluke, really. Being having a research interest and being making it part of your story, and then you've gotten this admission and everything. These are some of the things they are looking forward to at the visa interview. They are looking for real students. They know some people want to japa. They know they've been here. That is why your bank statement and all of those things don't mean nothing. So they are looking for real students, and it's about your mindset. It's about your mindset that influences your body language and the things you say, the confidence in saying the things you say. So a lot of people think it's a fluke. There is no way around this thing, at least for me. You know, so being able to do the work puts you in a different mindset for the visa interview. That is why the visa interview, the experience is usually different for a lot of different people because we are different. I mean, for instance, during my interview, I was sitting and waiting for the next person. She was so paralyzed by fear that, they say you should put your hands and scan. She had her file. Do you know this girl mistakenly put her hand on the scanner with her file? I mean, in those split second, and this guy is within 2 minutes, all of these things happen, and there is so much packed in those 2 minutes, and most likely you have your masks on. So there was something I did, which was something, that comes from the mindset thing. When I got there, for instance, I decided to break the ice. I asked her, "Excuse me, can I take down my mask so I can breathe properly?" And she was like, "No, you can keep it on, keep it on." But in that split second, it made her understand that, like, I've made the connection. I'm not waiting for her to make a judgment. I've already shown myself, my personality, and all of that. I'm not saying it's something you should do, but I'm saying that being in the right mindset is what it's all about, at least for me, because your mindset influences every other aspect of this. And where I think, honestly, Mundus is my friend, where I think he would be the most help in all of this process is in those intangible things about, framing your story, because it's what it's about at the end of the day, framing your story well. And, you know, he knows what schools want to hear, the kind of personalities they want, being able to tell those stories, telling your story as to shine through and all. I think that's what it is about. I get passionate when I talk about things like this because, bro, like, uh, it was a miracle for a lot of people, but I know the amount of hard work, you know. So that's the thing mostly.
All right. So thank you very much, Victor. I understand how how difficult it is to get someone in the US to sacrifice 1 hour of their time. I know how much it is.
Man,
So because if you're giving us 1 hour of your time, for some persons here, this is just Victor and Mundus, doing their thing. Or we've made lots of sacrifices, to be able to bring this kind of information, to lots of people in Nigeria who would want to, to the path that you've done. So I would allow, as much as we can take people who have questions. I'm going to bring you up. If you have questions, but I would advise that you make your questions as brief and as quick as possible, so we can accommodate as many questions as we can take, please. So I would, if you want to ask a question, I think there's an option for you to indicate. I'll be able to see.
I'm seeing
Uh,
some hands up already.
I would I would allow. I can see Nelson, so I'll allow you to speak. So very quickly, brief, straight to the point, and answer your questions. Oh, I think I just brought someone up to speak. Okay, so okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Hello, this is Humble Nelson. I'm from Owerri, Futo,
Yeah.
precisely.
I remember you. Alpha.
I'm fine, sir. Thank you
Mama,
so
Alpha.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mundus, for this great opportunity. And thank you also, Victor, for sharing your own view. So my question, straight to the point. Okay, I applied for a school and then I didn't send my transcript through Wes because maybe I didn't have knowledge about Wes. I sent my transcript directly from my school, that's Futo, to the university. So will I encounter any problem? That's my first question. Then my second question is that SOP.
who said one question?
I
No,
say
make
that's
it
my
just ask.
first
I think,
question.
yeah, I think he can just ask so that in answering it, you probably answer some other people who might have a question, so they
Okay.
don't have the same question asked over
All
time.
right. My
Yeah.
second question is about the SOP. When I was applying, the course and the school I was applying to didn't request for SOP. I hope there is no challenge of any such. So basically, these are the two questions I have. Thank you very much.
So I'll
Thank
answer the transcript question, and then Mundus, you can answer the SOP question. Okay.
you. Mhm.
So, as far as transcript goes, some schools are strict on requesting official transcripts from the universities in Nigeria. Some other schools would most likely want you to upload your student copy in your application portal. And then some schools would require a form of transcript evaluation. WES is just one of the different evaluation companies, but WES is very popular and the most popular among schools. Just like there is TOEFL and IELTS, but TOEFL for the US is more popular than IELTS, right? So what it means is, in my own case, I strictly, because I had a bad grade, go carry 2 point something, go they send to school where require like official transcripts, and getting photo, for instance, to send stuff to official transcript to schools, and there is a lot of things that could go wrong. So I specifically asked or searched for schools that require a WES evaluation, because that evaluation would put my grades in a better perspective. I hope I answered your question. So for me and for a lot of people, your situation might require that you specifically search for schools that require a WES evaluation. And then you can always do that. And some schools likely will only require you to upload your um unofficial transcript, to the portal. So the advantage of having WES is because your transcript has been verified by WES from your school, so you don't have to do that again. I think you want to say something, Mundus. Let's not
Yes,
take
yeah.
time.
So also to add to what you've said, so because of my, my experience doing this over the years, I've also noticed that, for most schools, like my school, when they want to, when they want to evaluate your transcripts themselves without WES, so when you submit your Nigerian transcript to them, if they want to evaluate your transcript, what most schools do is they multiply your transcript by 0.8. Okay. So let's say you have your CGPA is 3.5 over 3.5 over 5.0. They'll multiply it by 0.8 to get the 4.0
Scale,
equivalent.
4.0 scale.
And
Oh,
now,
zero
what
point 0.8. Wow.
that most times when they do multiply by 0.8, someone whose CGPA is let's say 3.5, 3.5 times 0.8, 3.5 um, times 0.8, it means your CGPA is 2.8, okay? 2.8 over 4.0. But what I've noticed is that if you do your WES evaluation, at the end of the evaluation, you will likely get a CGPA of, let's say, 2.95 over 4.0. So most times the WES evaluated transcripts will give you a bit higher CGPA than, when they just do multiplied by 0.8. So if your CGPA, if you're at the borderline, and you're trying to optimize your chance, you may want to get your WES evaluation. It helps. And then for the SOP, like I mentioned before, there are over 3,500 schools in the US.
With
All of
different
those
requirements.
all of those schools have like different requirements. So if a school says, "Oh, we just need your transcript," go ahead and submit the transcript, okay? But what it means is that those schools that will ask you not to submit an SOP will likely not offer you graduate assistantship, right? Every school that offers graduate assistantship will require you to do an SOP, compulsory, right? Yeah, some schools will say, oh, just give us a transcript. Those schools would not give you graduate assistantship, like, as part of the admission process. So I think we've answered your question too. Innocent, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, good evening, all. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
you
can
can.
hear you.
I'm Innocent Ugoji. Thank you, Victor and Mr. Woko Martins. On that Wells, you took us on a process of getting Wells to evaluate your results. I didn't get that process very well. Do you have to pay Wells to do that evaluation? And what is the process? Thank you.
So, okay, do you want me to say something, Mundus?
You can go ahead and answer.
Okay. So it's WES, World Education Service, WES. So I think there is a lot of information on it on Nairaland or even Google or anywhere. But basically, the process is you create an account on WES, WES.org, and then you put in your details. I think you need to upload your graduate certificate too. And then you go to your school and request a transcript. You would see the instruction when you open an account with WES. Everything is there. You will see the type of evaluation, course by course evaluation. I think it's pretty straightforward when you go to WES.org. Okay.
Yeah, and the process will take, let's say 2 weeks, depending on how fast your school is.
The school,
What
yeah,
your
that's the most important.
transcript to them, in less than 3 working days, they evaluate your transcript, okay? And once they have your evaluated transcript with them, it makes it easier whenever you're applying to any school. For instance, West has my transcript now. So whenever I want to apply, I want to do my PhD tomorrow, I don't need to go back to my school in Nigeria. I don't need to go back to Futo. I can simply send West, just go to my West account, put in the email address of the school, and then they send it directly to the school, like, in less than 24 hours. Okay, so Prince, I've given you the permission to speak. I would allow, more persons so they are able to ask.
You need to gender equality.
Oh, okay. I'm not seeing any female. I'm not seeing any female raising up.
Yeah, I'm seeing Henrietta said I have a question. So, Henrietta.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Prince.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Mundus and Mr. Victor, I must really commend you guys. Like, what you guys have put up is like the first of its kind, and I really appreciate, and everybody here appreciate. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, man.
All right. My question is, like Victor, most of us who spent a lot of years in university and coming out with, let me just say, third class, is there a kind of like, for me, I'm acting on my own self. I just finished my NYSC as of November last year. So is there the space that I spent in university? Let me just call it 9 years. Will it affect? Will there? I don't know how to put it, but will it affect? Will it affect? And also the age? Is there any age restrictions?
No. There are no age restrictions. Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I get what you mean. So there are no age restrictions, one. And because this is like an in-house thing, I'll just share the tip with you, which is something I did. You need to, that is part of telling your story well. You need to present. I mean, in my own case, I didn't go there and tell them I was expelled from the university, for instance. Right? All those years, I was a graduate teaching assistant in Nigeria. I mean, that was my story. And I told it very well, and I could defend it. I had some research. I mean, I had some research, some real-ass research I added to my story too. So, which is why I said that the biggest help Mundus can be to you guys, even in terms of if you eventually want to do it yourself, is in this sort of intangible aspects that make the big difference. So those years, what matters is how you tell your story about those years. And like I said, in my own case, my story was that I was a graduate assistant in the university. I don't know if you
Okay.
understand. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
I get.
you can find something. You could be working in an education, something, but it matters how you tell your story. That's the thing, which is why I point back to Mundus too. All right, man.
All right, thank you. So let's. I'm trying. I want us to get as many questions as
Yeah,
we can before we leave.
I
So
think
some tea,
you need a lady. We need a lady to say something.
some tea.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Go ahead now.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I think I have two questions. It might be a little personal to Mr. Victor.
Hey, God.
No, it's nothing to be worried about.
Okay.
Okay, so while you were speaking about your school, I quickly went to the internet to search, and then I
Okay.
went to my course of choice,
Okay.
only to find out that they don't require an SOP or recommendation.
Wow.
And I've come to
Interesting.
realize that SOP and recommendations are a very good way to sell yourself, even in addition to what you just explained. So
Mm-hmm.
how exactly am I
Mm-hmm.
expecting to sell myself to these people if I want to
So
get to your school?
what course is that? What course is that?
Accounting, MSc accounting.
MSc accounting. It's a very
Yeah.
interesting. I think I might know someone who knows someone in MSc accounting. So I would imagine those courses are non-thesis. I mean, those courses are. I think it's something
Coursework.
we didn't talk about. It's coursework. I don't think you need a Shemundus accounting. I think off of my
Yeah,
head
it's
is
Yeah.
a
coursework.
non-thesis option, right? Coursework, yeah. So what you can do is to reach out. That is what it is about. At the end of the day, if there's any question you need, it helps. You can email the graduate coordinator, and they are always willing to answer your questions. Like that's being proactive. I mean, as much as I can think now, what you need to do is to, if there's any question you have, you
So
ask,
let me
you
add.
email,
Let me also add that when you go to the website of of these schools or the programs,
yeah.
there's a section for tuition and funding. Most we offer graduate assistantship, or we offer this kind of scholarship. To apply for graduate assistantship, this is what you're supposed to do. So for some courses, graduate assistantship application is part of the application process for admission. So apply for
Yes.
admission, they are considering you for graduate assistantship. For some other schools, you have to do a separate application for graduate.
That's true.
So you have to find out if the program you're applying to, are they considering me for graduate assistantship or fully funded scholarship alongside my admission application, or do I have to fill a different form altogether or a different application altogether? So you have to find out. Different schools have different. There's no one
Requirement.
size fits all. Yeah. To find out for the school you want to apply, what the process for graduate assistantship is. But I know, almost all the schools in the US, offer,
Some form
full
of, yeah. That's
one
true.
in
That's true. And just to say too, the only way to do that is by reaching out to. I mean, at the end of the day, you need by emailing people. I don't know why it's such a very underrated thing to do. Okay.
Okay, Henrietta, you can go ahead. Henrietta, go ahead. So I think Henrietta is not ready, so I'll allow another person to speak.
Good evening, and thanks so much, Victor
Okay,
and
good evening,
Martin.
everyone. Yeah, good. No, can you hear me, please? Good evening.
All right. Good evening. Yeah, we are listening.
Francis,
Okay.
can you?
All right, thank you so much. So I really enjoyed the session. I just want to ask briefly, for someone who is applying for maybe doctoral studies with a master's degree, when using WES evaluation, is that included in it? And also, when applying for visa, someone who gets a graduate assistantship with funding, is there need for things like proof of funds and all that? Thank you.
Okay, so if you're applying, I'll start from last question. If you have full funding, you don't need to prove, the proof of finance is in your I-20. Your I-20 will say, oh, this person has been given, a fully funded scholarship. So your tuition is waived, your living expenses is waived. That means you don't need to prove, any kind of, statement of account or bank thing anymore. Okay. So once you have fully funded scholarship, I think you're covered. What was the first question again? Sorry.
Okay, I said someone applying for
The
doctoral
West,
studies.
yeah,
Yeah,
doctoral
the West,
studies.
and has another degree, masters, and all that. Is there
Yes.
is there a possibility of including that?
Oh,
And
yes.
how does one include it in the application process to sell your story, just like Victor kept emphasizing time and again?
Oh, yeah. So you can. So in addition to evaluating your first degree, you can also evaluate your master's degree. Okay. But one thing I know is that at the point of doctoral study, the focus most times will shift from your transcripts to your research interests, your research capabilities, and so there's so much emphasis on your ability to do research and not on your CGPA anymore. Okay, yeah, and that is why most schools in the US will even allow you to do your doctorate degree even with your first degree, without a master. So at that point, they're not just looking at your transcripts. They're looking at your research abilities. But like I said, it depends on different schools, different requirements. If the school says, oh, you have to evaluate your master's and your master's degree and your first degree, then you have that option than to do that. But there are plenty of options to choose from. So whatever
So
one.
just to add to what Mundus is saying, all of the information that schools require or so that programs require are always on the website. And if there is something you need to find out, just as our situations are different, some schools their requirements are different too. You can always reach out to the program coordinator. There is a section about the faculty staff and their research interests even and their CV even. You can always make use of those too. And like he said, on a PhD level, you are dealing with a professor one-on-one now. It's not just the department. So that is why it's always important to reach out and reach out and reach out and reach out. So time too, bro.
Yeah. So Henrietta, you can speak now.
Oh, like
You want is
No wahala.
Oh, you're welcome. So I'll allow.
And she really wants to say something, no?
Yeah. So you can drop your message, drop your message in the group
Yeah, I
chat.
think they can reach you. Yeah, I think that's too. I mean,
Can drop when I'm
so
able to speak.
going
Drop,
going forward, I think they can ask you questions on the group, right?
yeah, sure, they
Or
can.
email or something. So that's
good evening. Good evening, everyone.
all
Yeah,
right.
good
Good
evening.
evening.
Okay, please. I want to ask, how can somebody get the link to apply for the scholarship? Like you made mention of getting 3 fully funded scholarships. So how do you know the correct link to apply for the scholarship? Because I've been trying. I've never seen anywhere as in how I can apply for any scholarship. So how can I get link to apply for any scholarship?
Okay. So I'm not sure you were here from the beginning of the session. But just to be clear, and just in case there are a few other persons who are still confused. Okay. So you might not find, when you search for scholarships in the US, you might not find expressly the word fully funded scholarship. Most times you won't find it. What you find is graduate assistantship, teaching assistantship. That was why when I introduced Victor, I told you Victor is a graduate teaching assistant, right?
So
So how it works is in the US is that the school is going to employ you to work for them in exchange for full tuition waiver and a monthly stipend. Full tuition waiver means you don't get to pay tuition, you don't pay school fees. And the monthly stipend is that they get to pay you, $1,000, $800 every month for your living expenses. Okay. So if they've covered your tuition and they're paying you stipend for living expenses, food, accommodation and all of those things. It means in a way, technically, it is fully funded scholarship. I don't know if that's clear. So when you go to Google, what you search for is graduate assistantship. Okay.
Okay.
So I think that might be the confusion, right? And almost all the schools in the US, almost all the public schools in the US offer graduate assistantship. Almost all. The only thing is there are some schools that
And they are
have more
competitive.
funding. Some schools have more funding than others. There are some schools that maybe in a program of, let's say, 10 students, out of those 10 students, they will give graduate assistantships about 8 of them. Okay. The program I'm doing currently, we are about 30. Out of the 30 students, we have about, I think about 3 persons with graduate assistantship, right? So different schools, due to the kind of, maybe the amount of money they have, they offer different amounts of proportions of funding or graduate assistantship to students. So you have to do your research and find out, okay, so this program I'm applying to, what's the ratio like, of people with graduate assistantship to, the entire population of the class. Okay, but every school in the US every public school in the US offers one form of, funding or the other.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. Sorry, good evening again. I had a second question, but you disconnected me before I could give up my second question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Why did you
So I
disconnect?
applied to this school, but before I applied, I reached out to a professor who told me that he's very willing to be my supervisor, but then admission and offering of graduate assistantship position is solely dependent on their graduate coordinator, and he copied her in the mail. So she emailed me with him in the copy, telling me that I have to apply for the program first and get admitted before I can be considered for any graduate assistantship. And the graduate assistantship position will be posted sometime in January. And the application fee waiver would not be waived. The application fee will not be waived for me. So I waited, I had an issue with my transcript and all, but after everything, I got my transcript and I applied. It was a very rigorous application process, but eventually I found out that there was no provision for recommendations and SOP. So after applying, I sent my documents, they confirmed receipt of my application. Up until now, I've been checking my dashboard. There was no request for SOP, no request for recommendations and all. And I even checked the assistantship adverts. There is none for that course, even though she promised me that there will be one sometime in January, and January is almost up. So I think I'm stuck at this point. I don't know if to write to them requesting that I submit an SOP or something, or should I further go ahead and ask them if the promise of the assistantship that is supposed to be posted in January is still on, or will be posted much time later? I think I'm stuck at this point.
Okay, Victor, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to answer?
So I probably say something and then you conclude. So I wouldn't know what school you are talking about, and
Illinois State University.
Illinois State University.
Illinois
Okay.
State University, yeah.
Okay. So in my understanding though, there could be a lot of reasons for that. Let me start with that. For instance, the person I emailed first here at ECU never replied my message. I met her when I got here and she told me her husband had an accident and she got to an emergency leave. But in Nigeria, that wasn't anything in my head. That too, but I think the best thing to do is to email, is to reach out. That has been my biggest talk here. You can open a lot of doors by making connections, and then how you make those connections, what you say in those emails and how you frame them is also important. So I think that could be what you would need to do. Go ahead, Mundis.
Yeah. So let me also add that because of where we are coming from, a lot of us from Nigeria, from third world countries, and like I mentioned, and I don't blame lots of students, because even in the marketing of, in the publicity we did for this webinar, we kept on saying fully funded scholarship. And the idea of the scholarship is that someone is just giving you our money, someone is dashing you money to go and study. That's the idea we have of scholarship. But I just did mention now that fully funded scholarship in the US is usually in the form of graduate assistantship. And graduate assistantship is not a favor. So, like, I need us to have this mindset change that it is not a favor. The school is not doing you a favor because you are working for the school. They're employing you. You are a staff of the department. Okay, you could be doing research. You could be doing teaching.
Yeah.
You could be doing administrative duties. So they're employing you to work for them. So in
Okay.
exchange for work you're doing, they are paying you, right? So the payment is in your tuition waiver and the stipend. Okay, so they need you as much as you need them. And most of these schools have a budget every year for graduate assistantship, right? So just like a budget for hiring new staff. Okay, so if they're not giving it to you, they're going to give it to somebody. So when you're approaching maybe your program coordinator or your course advisor, you are coming from a place of, I have value that I'm offering. Okay, I have a very good background. I've done this, I've done that. I went to school. I had this CGPA. I've done this research, and I want to offer value to the department, right? So feel free to reach out to them. Feel free to ask them for. It's not going to affect your application. When you say, "Oh, I'm reaching out to find out if there's any graduate assistantship,"
Financial aid of
they're not going to say, "Oh, because you're asking for graduate assistantship, oh, we're going to deny your application, or you're being too forward," or there's nothing like that here, right? So when you reach out to these people, you need to have the confidence that you have something you want to offer them. You want to offer them your time, your skill, your knowledge, your expertise. Okay, so they're not dashing you money. Okay, you're going to work for the department, and in exchange for the work and the time you put into them, they are going to give you tuition waiver. So just have that at the back of your mind as you reach out to your graduates advisor or your program coordinator. So I think that answers your question.
Yeah.
Just go
So there are also like scholarships when you get here too, but you have
ahead.
to get here to be able to access those ones.
So we're going to end by 1:30. So we have 9 more minutes. Let's see how many questions we can squeeze in. After that,
please, so raising it up, isn't?
Who is that?
Since the beginning of the section, I just
Who is
wanted to note that to you.
Who is that?
Something.
Yeah.
Something.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
go
we
ahead.
can hear you.
Okay, thank you for the wonderful opportunity. I'm in Enugu. And the question I want to ask is this. I've been going through a website and I'm still on it. And I've been going through it for many years. I don't know if you can help me verify whether it's a legit website for food, like as regards to sponsorship. Because I've tried to send some details to someone over there to help me verify it, but I didn't get any response from the person. I don't know if Mundus can actually help me verify it.
What's the website?
It is www.ussafrica.org. ussafrica.org.
ussafrica.org. Okay. All right. So I'm going to check it and then I'm going to drop my. I'm going to look at it. If I'm not able to drop a response now, but before the end of the message, by the end of the session, I'm going to post it on the group so you can get my feedback on that. Thank you for coming up with that. Okay. So we can do 2 more persons and then that will be it. So go ahead.
Good evening, everybody.
Oh, good evening.
Let me know. Okay. Can you hear me clearly, please?
Yes, man.
Okay. I'm asking on behalf of my wife. She studied biotechnology in Futo, and she has a passion for nursing. So, but she wants to start an undergraduate program. So, somebody mentioned that she needs to, in the group chat, that she needs to go back and do a program on anatomy and physiology. So, but I want to ask and get you guys' response. What does she need to do? Since she has the passion to study nursing. So, and the best bet for us will be to go, if there is a provision for that or whatever process, fully funded is also our goal. plan. So
Okay, so yeah, so I remember seeing that question in the group chat. Even though the essence of this, this session is not to go into like individual cases, right? Because part of the services we offer, is consultation, one-on-one consultation, and it's actually a paid service, right? But because you've asked, I'm going to answer you. But we don't do personal cases like when we have sessions like this. So like I mentioned in the group, if you want to do a nursing in most countries, US, UK, they require that you've done some prerequisite courses like anatomy, physiology, psychology, right, and biology, and I think microbiology or biochemistry. Uh, so what they will do most times is they will give you a provisional admission or a conditional admission, saying you would only be fully admitted to this course upon successful completion of courses in psychology, biochemistry, anatomy, and physiology. Okay, so and I mentioned that it is very risky to go to the embassy with that kind of admission because it's conditional, right? So the embassy will be saying, oh, so what happens if you go and you don't pass these courses, right? Because if you don't pass these courses, you're not able to get admission, right? There are also some courses that say, oh, if you don't get, you have to do like maybe some English language courses in your first semester. If you don't pass, you don't get admitted, right? So what I advise people to do is, and what most people do, is that they get admission to maybe public health, maybe biochemistry, maybe any health related course. Once they come to the US and they are already in the US, they cannot make that switch. It's very easy to do that than going to them, except you already have those courses. Maybe you've done them in Nigeria already. And if you've done those courses in Nigeria, then you can get like a straight admission to do nursing. But if you've not done those courses already, you're going to get a conditional admission. And going to the embassy with that kind of admission, it makes your chances won't be too clear. You have like, let's say 30% or 20% chance of getting your visa approved. So for lack of time, okay, so after David, because I think David has been raising his hand for a while. After David, every other question you have, post it on the group, and myself and Victor, and Faith, we're willing to answer all of your questions. So I think the last person should be David. David, can you go ahead and answer your question? Ask your question rather.
MTN.
Okay. So in absence of that, we're going to be ending the webinar. But before we do that, so I'm gonna announce the webinar for next month, because it's going to be a monthly session. So next month we're going to have someone who she's doing her PhD here in the US, fully funded PhD, without any master's degree. So straight from bachelor's, after bachelor's, she did her NYSC, and from NYSC, she applied for PhD, fully funded, City University of New York. So I'm going to invite her next year. The information is going to be on the group. So she also come next month to, explain to us, how she was able to get, fully funded PhD without doing any master's degree. Like I mentioned, it's a team here in the US. There are lots of people, who do PhD even without doing masters, right? As long as you're smart, you're able to do the work, there are lots of opportunities, in all of these countries, and so you need to do the work, right? But beyond that, Mundus Consult is here to support you, like I mentioned, along, from the point of searching for school, to applying to these schools, to getting your statement of purpose, to helping you prepare for the interview, to helping you sort out your proof of funds and all of those things. So we offer all of these services, right? So feel free to reach out to us. We have our website, mundusconsult.com, that I can go to see all of our services. We have a tool on our website called the Visa Chance Calculator. So you want to find out what your chances of getting a visa is, maybe to Canada, UK, USA. Just go to the website. You'll see a link that says Visa Chance Calculator. Click on it. It's going to ask you a few questions like, how old are you? Are you working currently? How much are you making? And based on the answers you've given them, the AI is going to it's going to calculate your score and then give you a score and tell you, oh, your chances of getting a visa to this country for schooling is, let's say, 20% or let's say 100%, depending on your unique circumstances. Okay. Yeah. So feel free to reach out to us, if you have any issues. Also, we are working on getting coming up with a premium group for direct mentorship, because the truth is, we don't have all the time in the world to attend to all of your individual situations. So we are looking at creating like a special mentorship group that's going to be for just a few dedicated people who we are going to work with. We're going to hold you by the hands, walk you through all the process, provide you with all the resources you need, all the information you need, help you review all your documents, help you prepare for your interview. We're going to basically hold you by the hands from the beginning of the process to the end of the process. It's going to be a premium group, and obviously it's going to be paid for. It's not going to be free. We're going to post all of this information on the group for those who are interested. And, feel free to also do it yourself. I'm a huge advocate of DIY. If you feel like you want to do everything yourself, Google is your friend, and there's absolutely nothing you can't find on Google. There's absolutely nothing you cannot find on Google. Knowing how to use Google is a huge skill, right? It's a huge skill. So you need to learn how to use Google. And if you're able to do these things yourself, feel free to do that. If you feel, you want Mundus Consults, based on our expertise, and you want us to help you with the process, we are here to help you do that, okay? So thank you very much. This video has been recorded, or is being recorded. We're going to post it on the YouTube. So subsequently, post the link. After posting on YouTube, we're going to post the link on the group. Feel free to share with your friends. And, I look forward to having this conversation with all of you next month. Thank you very much, Victor, for your time.
Right.
I know the sacrifices you've made to be here, and I don't take it for granted. Thank you very much. Thank you, Faith, too. Faith is, one of the admins on the platform. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Faith. And also be very careful of people reaching out to you personally via DMs. Telegram is not such a wonderful place. Okay, so you have to be careful of people reaching out to you and saying, "Oh, we can do this for you, we can do that for you." So you don't find yourself in a situation where people would scam you of your hard-earned money. So thank you very much, everybody. And see you in the group. Thank you, Victor.
Thanks,
and good night, everybody.
Good afternoon for me here.
Oh, good afternoon. Thank you. See you, go.